That night, neither of us spoke. I could hear her crying, and I knew she wanted answers about what had happened to our marriage. But I couldn't tell her the truth. I had fallen in love with another woman named Jane. The love I once felt for my wife had faded, leaving behind only guilt and sympathy. The next day, I prepared divorce papers. I offered her the house, the car, and 30% of my company. She glanced at the document, then tore it into pieces without saying a word. The woman who had spent 10 years beside me suddenly felt like a stranger. I felt guilty for hurting her. But I believed there was no way back. I loved Jane and wanted a new life. The following evening, I came home late. My wife was sitting at the dining table writing something. Exhausted after spending the day with Jane, I went straight to bed. The next morning, she handed me her conditions for the divorce. She wasn't asking for money or property. Instead, she requested 1 month before we officially separated. Our son had important exams coming up, and she wanted us to maintain a normal family life until they were over. I agreed. Then, she made one more unusual request. She asked me to carry her from our bedroom to the front door every morning, just as I had carried her across the threshold on our wedding day. It seemed strange, but I accepted. When I told Jane about it, she laughed. "No matter what she does, the divorce is still happening," she said dismissively. Since the day I mentioned divorce, my wife and I had become distant. Carrying her for the first time felt awkward. But our son clapped his hands and smiled. "Daddy is carrying Mommy." His excitement touched me more than I expected. As the days passed, carrying her became easier. On the second morning, she rested her head lightly against my chest. I noticed the familiar scent of her clothes and realized how long it had been since I had truly looked at her. She was no longer the young woman I married. Fine lines marked her face, and gray strands had appeared in her hair. The years of our marriage had left their marks on her. By the fourth day, something inside me began to change. While holding her in my arms, I remembered that she had devoted 10 years of her life to our family. Slowly, the emotional distance between us started to disappear. As the month continued, I felt increasingly connected to her. One morning, she stood in front of the mirror trying on several dresses. "None of them fit me anymore," she said with a sad smile. Only then did I realize how much weight she had lost. She had become so thin that carrying her required almost no effort. A deep sense of sorrow filled my heart. She had been carrying a burden I hadn't noticed. Soon, carrying her each morning became part of our son's routine. "Dad, it's time to carry Mom." On the final day, after our son left for school, I held my wife tightly. At that moment, I understood what had been missing from our marriage. It wasn't compatibility, it wasn't money. It was love, attention, and appreciation. I rushed to find Jane. "I'm sorry," I told her. "I don't want the divorce anymore." She stared at me in disbelief. I explained that our marriage hadn't failed because we were wrong for each other. We had simply stopped valuing the little moments that kept us close. "I want to stay with my wife," I said. "I want to love and support her for the rest of our lives." Jane slapped me and shut the door in my face. I walked away and bought a bouquet of flowers. On the card, I wrote, "I will carry you every morning for as long as I live." That evening, I returned home with a smile on my face, eager to begin again. But when I entered our bedroom, I found my wife lying peacefully on the bed. She had passed away. For months, she had been battling cancer. I had been so distracted by my relationship with Jane that I never noticed how sick she had become. She knew her time was running out. She also knew that if we divorced before she died, our son would carry that pain forever. So she chose to spend her final days protecting him and preserving the image of a loving family. Only then did I understand the lesson she had left behind. A strong marriage is not built on wealth, houses, cars, or success. Real happiness comes from the small acts of kindness, the shared moments, and the care two people show each other every day. Cherish the little things. Be your partners, because in the end, those small moments are what truly matter.